All right, Ingram Smith, Bud Elliott, back again with another episode of the Knollcast. We'll be looking back at the NC State game, obviously. Tonight, as always, want to thank our friends at Tarpon Sellers. TarponCellars.com is the website. Coupon code Knollcast, 20% off some of the better reds that are made out there. And I just placed an order a couple days ago, Bud. I'm going to be serving the Tarpon Cellar Chardonnay at the old wedding shindig in February. So I look forward to that, and fortunate to have the partnership with them that we do.
Awesome, man. Notification gang checking in here to the chat. Really appreciate you guys liking and subscribing. We actually didn't tweet anything out tonight about us going live, but we appreciate you guys doing that. If you are subscribed to us on the channel, you do get us live, which is pretty fun. Man, first of all, thank you for handling the preview and the instant this week. That was much needed on your part. It allowed me to get down there and help out some of my folks down in Fort Myers, and really enjoyed seeing everybody down there and knowing that a lot of those folks are on the right track. If you guys do want to help out some people that are still struggling down there, I know Cajun Navy Ground Force I feel like does a really good job, and so does Harry Chapin Food Bank. Which if you guys want to just hit up one of those, something local that's been reputable for a long time. I know we had a lot of people ask the account like, hey, who can I donate to help help down there? One of the worst disasters in U.S. history as far as certainly property damage when you get that kind of flooding, but also they passed 100 deaths today. So our thoughts and prayers go out to the families of those folks. But we are FSU Pods. We got to get to it, and unfortunately, you nailed it as far as the performance of the offense. And I mean, if Leary stays in there, you might hit the number exactly on the head, man. I mean, that was.
His prediction was, I think, 24-16. Wish obviously it would have gone the other way. Tough night, man. We'll try to make the best sense of it. I like the conversation that we've had pre-show as far as, was there a drastic drop off in production from first half to second half, or did you just pull a couple Houdinis out of the hat in the run game that you didn't pull out anymore? And there's an ancillary conversation to be had there as to why you kept trying to rely on the run game in the second half. But that's, what we'll cover in the next 35 minutes and try to make as much sense as possible of what transpired Saturday evening.
Yeah, man. So I watched this and I was like, first couple drives is just kind of going a little bit better than I thought. And I remember watching them, like, oh, they hit some passes. This is cool. And in the second half, they were a lot less productive, obviously. Anybody who sees these drives can see that. But I went back and I watched the all 22, and I got to tell you, man, I watched the whole thing, and then I went back like, what was NC State actually doing different in the second half? And it really wasn't that different to me in the second half. Maybe a couple adjustments, right? To some of the ways they shaded some of this stuff, some of the way they play their leverages and where they align their safeties. But I really think for the most part, if you guys go back, and you actually don't need the TV or the all 22 copy, I think you can watch the TV copy for this. Look how much pressure NC State has created in the backfield, either via just whipping your offensive lineman physically, which is what you predicted would happen in the preview, and you were correct. The guys that FSU has out there right now are either not talented enough or not healthy enough, or in some cases both, to handle upper tier ACC defensive linemen, or by really well-timed run blitzes. And we did say that was the best linebacking core in the ACC. I think that's probably still true. I mean, Clemson's got a really nice tandem, but those are old guys for NC State's defense, man. They are really good. They fly around. They don't bust a lot of assignments. They're able to take risks, but still like maintain their gap. So you had a couple times where you got hit with some nice run blitzes, and then, I mean, a couple times you just blew some blocking assignments, I thought. But for the most part, I didn't think FSU's offensive line looked terribly coached. They didn't have a million penalties. They're just getting beat, guys. And it sucks because you can't just be like, all right, I've got to coach them up a little better. They're just not that good right now. They're better than they used to be, certainly. But I'm going to go off, and I just want to go through like the first 25 plays or so. I'm going to do this fast because it could be boring. And I'm going to describe these because I know like YouTube's important to us, but obviously, I mean, our pod download numbers are huge, and
Still about 85% podcast. Yeah,
exactly. So, all right. So you start off. Trayshawn actually gets a nice 5-yard run here. They had some penetration. By the standards of this game, this was actually not that poorly blocked, and Trayshawn did a really nice job of having some patience and squeaking out 5 yards here. So I was impressed by that. Next play, he gets totally stuffed. I mean, this is just so much penetration from Corey Durden that the puller, right? They're pulling. I think they're pulling Turntine on this. Okay, the right guard just gets totally blasted into the backfield to where Turntine trips over him. So one guy has created the pile of 2 because he just smoked you. Next play, you're actually running a little bit of sort of like a delayed draw. That to me is good coaching, I think, in that situation. Your drop back game is not great. Your play action game is not bad. 3rd and 5 is not a terrible spot to try to pop a draw. And they do. They get one for 5 yards, exactly down to the line of scrimmage, or excuse me, to the first down marker, which was nice. Next play, Turntine does not get the defensive end's hands batted down, so thus he bats the pass down.
This is 32, the play where 32 almost catches the ball. Yeah,
correct. Yeah, I mean you gotta get his hands down there. 2nd and 10 from your 35. Jordan completes a pass to Trey Benson. This is a fine play by FSU, right? It's a reasonable play to run. You get a look that makes sense to run this little kind of now screen that they run. They do it. And here, if you want to go back and watch, this is the 5th play of the game for the Noles offense. This is just a good example of how fast NC State's linebackers in pursuit was. They just run this thing down, man. I mean, it was a 4-yard pass play that I think against some teams probably could have gone 7 or 8, right? And that was instructive to me that it could be a long night. Now 3rd and 6, Jordan Travis rushes for 22 yards. This was just a crazy good scramble by Jordan, man. NC State overruns this very slightly. There's a ton of penetration on him. They're trying to throw a pass. He really doesn't have much of a shot to throw one. And like the juke he puts on this kid is great. So awesome job. It's not really, when I watched that, after just seeing how good the pursuit was on that screen, the play prior, my thought is, oh, Jordan looks good, fast, like speed-wise. That was encouraging. Also, I'm not really sure how repeatable that is because I know NC State doesn't overrun this stuff very much. Mm-hmm. And, they're pretty disciplined on defense. They're solid. But that was a great run by him. All right. Then Jordan runs for 2. There's a replay here. It just gets totally smoked. Honestly, the fact that he got 2 is a good job by him. Trey Benson runs for a 4-yard loss on the next one. This is actually not that poorly blocked. NC State just perfectly times up this run blitz. And I do think they might have had something as far as the timing of the snap count a couple times. Like NC State is a very good run blitzing team. I mean, if you're running this 3-stack stuff, you are going to have to be a good run blitz team. Just that's how you do it. But they do it really well. And they smoke this for a 4-yard loss. So then you're in 3rd and 12. You get an offsides call, which gets you to 3rd and 7. And then Jazz false starts, which gets you back to 3rd and 12. Quality play there. And then you have this is something, by the way, that should scare you, I think, because it's something that NC State certainly saw Wake Forest do, and now Clemson will have seen both these teams do this. And this is that on the 3rd and 12, if you watch, NC State all of a sudden goes from this to that, right? To where they're playing 2 really wide DNs, trying to keep Jordan in the pocket. Yeah. They get nice pass push up the middle. And they compress the pocket pretty well, and they're dropping 8 guys, and they play together as a unit. I mean, there's really not much there to hit. So next play again, 1st and 10. You're back on your own 38, or was it 38? No, your own 36. All right. Trey Benson runs for 2 yards. This is actually just a really good play by NC State. I'm not going to fault Jazz on this. He has a decent block. Like Dimitri, Big Meech, actually has an okay block, I think, on the guy that makes the play. The DN just makes a really athletic play to bend and get under there and just barely shoestring the back. This is if I was doing film review on FSU's defense here, I'd be like, that's a hell of a play. Like, he should be blocked out of the play, and he just made it. They actually had this one blocked okay. I mean, if I'm Alex Atkins grading this, I don't hate what Meach did on that. Unfortunately, it only gave you a 2-yard run. The next one, Gibbons gets beat, and they also had a really well-timed run blitz. So that's like 2 in 2 series that they've got smoked out. So that's a 2-yard loss. You had no shot. I mean, Benson was just dead in the backfield. Then you are on 3rd and 10 from your own 36 again, another long down. Jordan Travis is sacked for a 10-yard loss. Gibbons and Turntine are beat within 2 seconds here, and it's a 4-man rush, no blitz. So if you're dropping 7 into coverage and you're getting immediate pressure, that's pretty good. So, not bad. All right. I promise we're going to go a little faster here because this is probably boring, but I do think, like, hopefully you guys in the chat and listening at home can start to hear some patterns emerging. Okay. A couple things we're seeing so far. NC State is a very good run blitz team, and they timed you up pretty well. A couple times you just got physically whipped at the point of attack. Through this point in the game, your backs are doing a really nice job of getting 2 yards or 3 yards when they probably should have got -1 or 0. Next, okay, 1st and 10. Jordan drops back. He ends up having to scramble for 1 yard. NC State's getting pass pressure with 3 guys. This is just simply a math problem, right, guys? I mean, if you're getting pass pressure with 3 dudes, we talked about this in 2020. You're screwed, to put it in a way that I'm not going to get the explicit label on YouTube. Okay.
Sometimes football is very simple math.
Yeah,
if you can rush with 3 and drop 8, you're done. You're screwed. Yeah.
If you guys watched the Super Bowl when the Bucs beat the Raiders, this play to me reminded me of that. It was like, oh, Rich Gannon, that's a nice passing game they have. When the Bucs are getting immediate pressure and they're able to drop everybody else. So they're just playing some 2-man stuff there. I think probably 2-man with a spy because they only rushed 3. All right, 2nd and 9. Jordan actually completes a nice pass here to Pittman. This is the rollout play to the left that if you're watching on the TV copy, it probably looks like he drops it immediately, and then he caught it. Pittman did a nice job to go down and get the ball. Dimitri ends up falling down, I think, because Gibbons gets bull rushed into him, and like they're pulling Dimitri to try to like reset the pocket for the little quarter roll thing they're doing. And he ends up tripped, I think, by Gibbons' foot or Scott's, one of the two. And so NC State was going to have a free rusher that Jordan had to dodge anyway because I think they had you well schemed on this. But they ended up having 2 free rushers, so he completes the pass in the face of that, which is good. All right, next play. Jordan Travis pass incomplete, short left to Johnny Wilson, hurried by Tanner Engel. Damn right he was hurried. My note here says another well-timed blitz. So that's like 4 pretty good blitzes NC State has in the first 16 plays that have gotten home. A couple of them are run blitzes, but that one I think you can argue might have been a pass blitz, or at least a blitz they were anticipating, potential pass. All right, so here we go. This is actually a really nice play by FSU. This is the rail shot down the sideline to Pokey Wilson. FSU this through this point in the game has had a real hard time blocking NC State. Okay. Here, they keep a tight end in and the back end, and they use a little motion to do some trips to make NC State declare what they're in. They get it pass protected enough, and ultimately Jordan just makes a great ball, and Pokey makes a nice catch. Like, NC State covered this play fairly well. They're playing, even on the plays that you're doing pretty good, they're not like bad plays by NC State. I was very impressed by this defense, and if they played this game again, I would not expect FSU to score 17, right? I think I'd expect them to score like 7, personally. But we'll get to that. Maybe 10. Who knows? That may be an overreaction by me. All right, next play. Trayshawn runs for 2. This is just Trayshawn pulling miracles, honestly, as far as not getting hit in the backfield for a loss. You had a lot of pressure again in the backfield. All right, then we had an offsides penalty again on NC State. So while they have you timed up some, they also have 2 offsides in the first 19 plays of the ballgame. So maybe they're just a little jumpy and they're getting lucky with it. All right, then Toafili runs for 0 on 2nd and 3. They just stuff this stuff. again, patterns emerging here. Travis incomplete, short left to Malik McClain. This is not a short left. This is actually the ball that McClain drops in the end zone. They slid the protection to the opposite side of the blitz. Jordan slid with it. They did a decent job to get a piece of the guys coming because they're in the boundary. They're getting corner pressure or maybe nickel pressure from the field. Okay. They slide protect into the boundary. Jordan rolls with the slide. Credit the Jazz here, who actually picks the guy up and gets enough of him to where Jordan has time to get the throw off. It's a good ball, I think, to Malik, and Malik just doesn't come down with it. And that's what would you say you do here to borrow that line? All right, 4th and 3. I think this is another tip pass, right? The ball that to Johnny Wilson over the middle. It wasn't dropped. I mean, I think if you watch it, it looks like it's going in over end. So, is my internet being weird?
We've had a couple small disconnections, but I think everything's fine. Is this is the slant on 4th and 3 that the guys climbs over his back? Okay.
Yeah, I think the ball is tipped.
Okay.
Just the way it kind of rotated. All right, and then a couple more plays here. Jordan runs for 71. This to me actually was kind of interesting, and I wonder if this was designed or if it was Jordan improvising. I think it might be designed because a couple times FSU has gone to this trips look, right? Trips to the field, and NC State has brought some B gap pressure on this. Okay, so trying to between the guard and the tackle. Now, through this part in the game, for the most part, FSU looks like they've been running some RPO stuff, and NC State has played this. They've been playing a lot of man. They're trying to get you to hand the ball off. Now, in this case, and by the way, guys, when I say RPO, I'm using the term correctly, and I don't mean that in like a cocky way. I'm just saying RPO to me means run pass option, normally meaning handoff or throw. That's the pass part. The run part is the handoff, not zone read. This is more of a QB read play to me because what they actually get is you get 3 over 3. You get the safety who's playing way out there, right, over those 3 receivers. Then they end up, they kind of have this backer in no man's land. He does come on a pretty long blitz, so he's busting an ass to try to hit that B gap, right? And if the ball goes toward on the fake, he's probably going to hit it. The other guy's going to hit it, I think, is the safety who's playing into the boundary, who played pretty well all night. The fake here is actually so good that the safety is outside of Jazz, like pretty long after Jordan has kept the ball. So you had this backer, like they caught NC State in a run blitz, which previously in the game they had timed up pretty well. Mm-hmm. Okay. His momentum's going all crazy. And then when Jordan pulls it, there's just nobody there, man. And that safety, the safety miss, like catching them in that run blitz and pulling the ball got you about 10 to 15 yards. The quality of the fake and the safety into the boundary, reading it so hard is what got you like the other 50 or 60. Mm-hmm. And the fact that Jordan's wheels look a little bit better in this game than they have in prior games. So that to me was impressive. And then I will say on the very next drive, they came back to that same look and they actually threw a delayed screen where it looked like Jordan was trying to hold a little bit and read it. And then he throws it out there and they got 8. So I did like that from the coaching staff. There's not a whole lot you can do, in my opinion, right? When you're giving some pass pressure up against 3 and 4, it's just, there's not a bunch. Now, I will say the data kind of lies to me in this game a little bit, because if you say, hey, Bud, like what was their stuff rate? Okay. I mean, runs for 0 or negative yards, FSU was only 28% or 29% allowed. But if you expand that out a little bit, I think that's probably more instructive. Here's a number for you. Only 37% of rushes exceeded 5 yards. Okay. They had a lot of runs that were 0, 1, 2, and 3. They were not a consistently good run team. And I really kind of thought the answer was to try to chuck it up more. And I know I'm probably hypocritical saying this because we just went over the fact that, I mean, how many pass plays did they actually throw and they had a lot of they had a lot of pass pressure against them almost immediately without the use of extra blitzers. So I mean, you could say, look, if you're Mike Norvell, you're thinking, hey, my defense is actually playing pretty well. NC State's offense going into this one has not played well. I don't want to do the more risky thing, which is throw the football all that much, because we could risk turnovers, fumbles, interceptions, all that kind of stuff. And I get that. I do. I think Mike's in kind of a hard place here where in real time, like, man, chuck it up. Throw it a little more. Like, you're not going to run on these guys for the most part. I would like to see like more play action shots on early downs in the second half to try to just get that one kill shot. But I mean, I will point out here, there's actually a guy on Twitter who replied when he tweeted some of that stuff to the account. I thought he had a good point. He said, it was Tom on Twitter. So shout out Tom. He said they ran 13 plays in the second half. 9 were passes, 2 of which were on first down. They were pressured heavily on 3 or 4 of the passes, had 2 drops, threw an interception, and had a personal foul. How is that poor game management? And honestly, like, he's not wrong. When we're saying, hey, I'd like to see more passes in the second half, I mean, what's he really saying? Like 3 to 4 more passes that they called as runs? I would guess. By the way, FSU ran 23 plays in the second half.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the sample size is very small, and a whole lot of 3 and outs will do that to you. It's just frustrating. I would have liked to have seen you throw the ball more. I realize that, look, when you're at the state of where this offensive line is, there's problems with whatever you're trying to do offensively. And, give credit to Robert Scott for coming back and playing better.
He played well.
Playing better than I could have thought he played. Jazz has got some, he's got a whole lot of variance. When it's bad, it's real bad. But you know what you got there, and you're trying to just make it a serviceable piece. But you're just banged up. You're banged up as hell along the offensive line, and I just don't. There's nothing that you can do that's great. You just have to try to figure out. You got to have more production than you did in the second half. I mean, it's just inexcusable. And I realize there's reasons why, and NC State's a really good defense with a couple pieces in particular, but you can't have that level of production in the second half. So
it's sort of like, all right. So my dad bought me this little adjustable basketball rim for my son. It clips on to our basketball goal that we have in the front yard. And no matter how hard he tries to make adjustments, he's not going to be able to dunk. There is some shot there is some chance that he can just chuck up enough balls and that one will go in. Okay. There is a 0% chance that he is going to be able to dunk anytime soon on that rim, because I have it high enough to where, like, I actually want him to practice shooting the ball, not just like laying it in there a little bit. That's kind of like the run game and the pass game. Okay. Could a lot of bad things happen if you pass it? Yeah. It's very unlikely you're going to get good things to happen against that defense with your current blocking state, man. And the tight ends need to be thrown in on this too. I mean, there's a reason we did like a 3-minute preview, and it was like the most depressing thing we've ever done. And I don't regret that, because they're quantity does not equal quality as far as scholarship distribution there. Yeah, I'm that kind of applies to next week.
Yep. Yeah, we'll have
Clemson is much better up front than NC State is, and their linebackers are pretty damn good. Their secondary is real banged up. They're playing some like legit third stringers. We'll talk about this in the preview, but you can't be afraid to come out chucking it against Clemson, but it will increase the chance that you lose big. But it's probably your only hope to actually win.
And I did think the strategy, and I talked about this in the instant, was to not like just negate the first quarter, but to survive it, to make sure you don't go up to Raleigh. What is it, 3-0 after the end of the first quarter or something like that? You lived through the first quarter, had a great second quarter, and then lost whatever that was. Whether it was a couple looks you found in the run game, whether it was a couple kind of Houdini-esque plays of making runs statistically look a lot better than they were as far as what was there. But the second quarter was friggin' brilliant, man. And it's just as frustrating as the special teams are. You come up with an incredible play to give yourself a chance to score at the end of the half with a punt return there. That's a kind of diversion that I love. It's just you turned in one of the better second quarters I've seen, and you turned in one of the worst second half performances that this program's seen in a decade or so. So, really tough, frustrating night.
What happens if one of those big catches in the second quarter happens in the third or fourth, and one of those drops in the third or fourth happens in the second? Like, how does our narrative change with the same amount of production based on how it's spread out? You see what I'm saying here? Like, one of the main differences in the second quarter and the third and fourth is that FSU's guys caught the ball.
Yeah, it's a
I
good
said on
point
Cover 3
too.
today, I was like, look, man, if
Yeah.
Jordan Wilson caught the ball consistently, he wouldn't be wearing a Florida State helmet. He'd be wearing an Alabama or a Georgia helmet.
Yeah.
Because at that size, you'd be in high demand in the transfer portal if you had any production in your college career or could catch the ball consistently.
There's a reason you're able to get him.
Yeah.
And you've done well so far developing. You knew the kid had a problem catching the ball, and unfortunately that, reared its head in this game. And I think you bring up a good point as far as distribution of success. And when we look back on it, it can make it think that, oh, you've got this great thing figured out in the second quarter, and then all of a sudden you forgot how to coach in the second half. Same time, I do think if you score, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think if you score a touchdown anywhere in the second half, you win that game, and you didn't. So, no reason to go back and relitigate what could have been as far as if you would have scored here, whenever. But it is interesting to take a little bit of a deeper look at the offensive production you had and what exactly was a byproduct of.
Have you had a chance to go back and watch the pick?
Yes, I have. The final pick.
Yeah. I wonder if it's actually a read. I think it's a design. It's a design corner.
Looks more like that to me. It does.
Because based on when Jordan throws it, I think he's expecting Pittman to get there. Now look, that I could be wrong, right? Maybe it is a read and Pittman, is going to convert that to something else. The guy does get on top of him a little bit. You'd like to see him finish out the route more if it's not a read. If it is a read, I understand him trying to break it off into something different a little bit. And I also understand Jordan kind of flippant there on the sidelines with Norvell. He knows he just lost the game. He knows the offense just screwed up and was terrible in the second half. Like, he may not want to hear a coaching point at that point. Now, Mike's job is to give it to him, but I also get Jordan's viewpoint on that, where it's like, look, man, how many dimes did I throw in the second half that these losers just dropped? Right? Now, granted, they made some great catches for you in the first half, and you're not like a, beyond reproach NFL quarterback. So it's not a good look. I'm just saying, people that are flipping out about this happens, man. Like, you ever play competitive sports? You ever have a coach get on you like, dude, get the F off me. I know what I did. I know what I messed up. Like, I don't need a coaching point after every mistake. But yet that is Mike's job to coach him. So I understand what they were both doing there. I don't know. I saw people blowing up on Twitter about it, man. I'm just like, all right. Maybe there's more here, but I'm not really sure there is.
I think if that's the only time you've had, I don't know. I mean, look,
I
said this on the instant. You analyze these things because you lost at 12 at midnight, I mean, and you dig deeper into stuff. If Florida State wins that game, nobody's talking about Jordan, dismissing Mike when he's trying to coach him up after an interception or some of the things that transpired last weekend. So, again, when you lose games, these are the conversations you have, and you look at, body language and interaction of the coach and quarterback and other things like that. So,
you want to talk about some guys that played well?
I'd love to.
I think you need to give some credit to Fuller's defense. I do, at least. You did in the instant, obviously. And granted, I mean, NC State threw one pass or two passes in the second half, right? Chambers threw one and did not fall complete, and the Thayer Thomas threw one pass and went for a 5-yard loss. So I would expect you to be able to shut those guys down. But they actually did do a pretty good job of limiting them. Now, you could say, hey, I'd like to see a little bit lower rush success rate allowed, because NC State actually did have, 50% of NC State's rushes went for 5 or more yards. So that's concerning, but you're already missing Lovett. Okay. McClendon, he's dinged. Cooper goes down in the game, doesn't return. Who knows on that one?
12 is dinged. 5 is dinged.
Yeah.
We'll do the Clemson preview on Thursday, but this conversation that we're having right now is where I pull back the reins of optimism relatively hard. I just don't know what you have up front on defense at all right
They
now.
emptied the clip, I think, in this game. Yeah. I'm very remember all the shit we got when we said, hey, it is so important that you won those first 4 games, because there is a chance that you go in 3 in the next. Not a great chance, but if things don't go the right way injury-wise, there's a chance. The real key here is get to the bye week, get healthy following that Clemson game, because we knew they were going to, or that Louisville game, we knew they were going to beat Boston College. Point remains, man. Given who you have healthy and who you don't have healthy, the expectations for this team should be adjusted downward significantly. I still think they have a pretty good shot to make a bowl.
Yeah, you got to make a bowl. We're having trouble in conversations if you don't make a bowl. I also think it's a reason to not empty the clip this weekend. I mean, I realize it's Clemson. It's a night game. It's a college game. Crazy stuff happens. Dog, if you got a chance to make sure, as much as you can make sure a kid's health is there for the final 5 games, I wouldn't push anybody back early against Clemson. I mean, particularly if you're talking about getting one kid back when there's another 4. Yep. Fabo, Cooper, any of these guys. They're just.
What are you going to get out of Darius?
We're going to look back.
He left the game late.
And we're going to decide the trajectory of this program and the success of this season based off the 5 games that are after Clemson. And I realize it's awesome to play them and you got a chance to win. I'm not saying there's a 0 chance or anything else like that. But this season is going to be dictated on what happens after the bye week.
100% agree. I thought Pat Payton played well. Hell, Leonard Warner gave you something, man. That was encouraging.
Warner played well. I'm a little worried about Briggs. I understand he's moving back inside. That just hasn't transpired at all like I thought it would. On the outside, I think there may be a little bit of injury situation there as well. But
like that Farmer,
that will give a little bit of depth. And 44 is I'm excited to see what 44 turns into, and some nice plays there.
I thought Bethune played really well. Could have seen better feel from the safeties, honestly. Just in watching, like, I don't know. NC State safeties look better to me as far as coming downhill and wrapping up. But corners I thought were fine. It's I'm pretty pleased with what this defense gave. Now, I do think if I'm an NC State fan, I'm very annoyed at this offense. Like, you got a kid who I think will play in the NFL in Leary. And he saved you time and again last year. Basically, like, hey, let's run the ball on first down every time, and then we'll throw a pass to the back of the backfield. 3rd and 7, save us, Devin Leary.
That is the Tim Beck offense at times.
God, certainly. They suck at that. I mean, like I would go like Jeff Bowden level nuclear if I had an NC State podcast. I mean, dude, Tim Beck's offense is hot garbage. They're bad. But you still made them look bad, which is encouraging. They were 4.5 yards to play, I think it was. Probably 4.6 if you take down the kneel downs there. I guess because they had 4 kneel downs or 1 run and then 3 kneel downs in the half or in the game. That's pretty bad. The crappy part is that you did knock their quarterback out, who's probably their best player on that offense, and you still didn't win it. I think that's like that's the part that, I mean, if you're a Nolecast listener and you expected to win that game, I don't know, like maybe I mean, you can just disagree with us. That's fine. We're wrong plenty. But the fact that you knock Leary out of the game, they bring in a kid who doesn't complete a pass and he beats you. That is kind of embarrassing. Even if I do think you were getting physically whipped in both halves, you pulled some stuff out of your butt in the first one, and you didn't catch the ball very well in the second half.
It sucks, man. Yeah, I mean, the fact that you knocked the quarterback out the manner that you did, and the BS penalty that ensued, and nobody gives a damn about my thoughts on like broader football, particularly pro football, and I don't care about the Falcons, y'all. So please don't interpret this as me being disappointed that the Bucks beat the Falcons. But if this is where we're going to take roughing the passer, the sport is gone, man. You can't do it. I don't want to derail where we are, but we're in the process of killing the sport. So that's my 30-second rant on this. And I know there was a bad one tonight in the Monday night game as well, Cedric. I saw that just as we fired up. So
yeah. Oh wait. Oh, there's one tonight on Monday Night Football. Because
yes,
there was an insane one about 3 years ago. I retweeted this when Chris Jones hit Brady while he's being blocked. He's like trying to like swat the pad, and he hits him on the shoulder. There's like no face contact. He almost, and they called it on that. It was pretty amazing.
It's well, again, this is a 30-minute conversation that has nothing to do with Florida State football, and this is a Florida State football podcast. So we'll get back to the subject matter at heart, but I have long-term concerns for where we're going with the sport.
It did piss me off a little bit. Coming out of the half, you want to be fired up. You want to set the tone. This is the only real gripe I have about the defense. Run for 8, run for 6, run for 1, 25-yard pass play, 7-yard pass play. That's the one Jamie got hurt on. Did it seem like FSU was getting guys hurt every other play? Like they had a million free timeouts in this game. I would make that joke, except for like they had guys who didn't come back. So I don't think they were faking, Then you 16-yard run, 2-yard run, 9-yard pass, 2-yard run, and then 10-yard pass. So they just sliced you coming out of the half there. And then after that, you actually get a decent stop. And then after that, you knock Leary out of the game. So then the other problem here is like you knock Leary out of the game. They run the ball. This is the other drive that kind of ticked me off. I don't know how much advanced research FSU has done on the backup, but I guarantee you they've done some, right? Like they have notebooks. They have like 40 interns. Somebody had the job this week to go back and look at Charleston Southern and see this kid throw. All right. Run for 4, run for 1, run for 8, run for 5, run for 11, run for 1. Incomplete pass. Terrible. Okay, we can't throw it against this guy. Run for 2, 40-yard field goal. That's another opportunity you had to take advantage and change the game. You just knocked their quarterback out. The backup, if he looks as bad in the game, he probably looks pretty bad in practice, I would guess. They know it, and yet they buckle down and they continue to run the ball on you. But you got guys who are hurt too, and I just you don't have you don't really have the dudes that you want there. But I thought that was kind of disappointing. Who else played well? I don't know. I have a hard time getting on the D line with who I know to be banged up there.
I know it's frustrating to see a team come out of the second half and score, and it's happened 2 weeks in a row. I have a hard time being critical of the defense at all, really. I know that we just spent about 90 seconds clowning on Tim Beck. The guy does have the ability to make adjustments too. He's worked at Texas, Ohio State. Sometimes that's going to happen. I don't love it. It sucks to see, but I'm not going to sit here and bang on the defense because another team scored a touchdown. It's just, it is what it is. And like you said, when you're as much of a mash unit, particularly the front four as you are, I'm just not going to spend a whole lot of time crapping on Fuller or anybody else on the defense.
if you'd lost this many guys off last year's team, we're not having a conversation about the one defensive drive that we didn't like, or this
It's a good
series of
point.
play calls that
It's a
we're
good
going to
point.
nitpick, right?
Yeah.
Or this last second interception that FSU threw. We're like, man, let's go to the drive of the game here. And, there's only one. And, we did have this conversation last year. It was Jacksonville State, not NC State. This team, if this team is relatively healthy, I think they're like a top 25 to top 20 level team. If they have as many guys have out right now, I think they're like a 50th level team. Maybe like 45, somewhere in that range, which is sort of like any given Saturday, depends on matchups type thing.
Yeah. So we went through most of the defensive injuries. If there's any that we haven't talked about, Trayshawn Ward today, switching over to the offense, tweets out a picture of him in the hospital. I imagine
I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at FSU's depth chart, which so
yeah. That was great timing. I love it.
Yeah. He's in one of those surgical caps, right? He's seen in a sling in the game. I mean, maybe you can deduce that he's probably having a dental procedure, right?
That's true.
I would guess maybe he's getting his wisdom teeth out or something like that before the Clemson game, not the bye week. Think it's likely. Yeah, he's on the depth chart still. These guys, I mean, I don't know why they put one out. It's
just having fun with it at this point.
Yeah,
got to click, got to chuckle at it. So, look, I said maybe that's collarbone, maybe that's shoulder, something. It's going to be a while till you see Trayshawn Ward, unfortunately, whatever, despite what the depth chart says. That will be interesting. I love Trey Benson.
We need to have this talk. This is important.
Be interested to see what he looks like as a number one back. And, you may find a kid that has a little bit more success as he gets more carries in a game. You may have a problem on your hands here as well. It will be interesting. I will say for the offensive line that you have right now, Ward is really good at turning a -1 into a +3. And I don't know that Benson can do that.
And specifically here, it's because Trey Benson is a builder of speed. Okay. He's kind of like James Wilder in that Wilder had really impressive top end speed when he got going. Benson does too. However, he does not have great acceleration. You don't have that with him. And the problem is with the amount of traffic that he's having to try and negotiate around in FSU's backfield right now, due to the penetration because the offensive line gets whipped or the tight ends get smoked or there's a well-timed run blitz or what have you, he is not as effective as that. You know who else was not very good at that? Derrick Henry. Okay. But Bama, when he was there, didn't really have a whole lot of backfield penetration. When he got to the Titans, Tennessee had to kind of change how they block some things too, because he's a guy who needs to build up to that top speed and then hit the hole going hard. And then he's really hard to bring down. We see this a lot with big backs. It's actually really rare for a big back to not have this. Like Jerome Bettis is kind of the one that I would point to where it's like he actually had good first step quickness. He also didn't have much as far as top end speed. So that's sort of different. But Benson is definitely a builder. Like he's faster than he is quick. Ward is definitively quicker than he is fast. Like if Ward goes to the combine, I think he'll probably run a pretty bad 40 as far as compared to what people think. And obviously we hope Trayshawn gets healthy from his dental procedure. But Benson is not a good fit right now for what you have going on in your backfield, and that's problematic. Toafili actually kind of did some of the Houdini stuff in the second half for you that Ward was doing in the first half. The problem is like Toafili is not really physical. So losing Ward here, it's not a huge deal, but it is a deal for a team that is it's going to hurt you.
It's not a huge deal. It's a big deal, though. I mean, it's significant. It absolutely is. So
just because of styles,
style, and he helps to mask a deficiency, and I'm not sure your other running backs do. So we'll again, we've got time to see how that plays out, and we can talk more about that on Thursday. Do want to thank our friends, the legendary team, Chad and Shannon, FSU Home Loan, 844 FSU Loan, excuse me, the legendary team, and the legendary team has put their legendary team when they're where their mouth is. Contributed $250 to each loan closed to Rising Sphere. And I know this is something that Chad has wanted to do for a while. And I salute him and Shannon for finding a channel that they can get involved, and excited to see where that's going. And if they're popping off $250 for each loan closed, then history would say they're going to be decent supporters of Rising Spear, and look forward to seeing what that relationship turns into. As we're fond of saying, Bud's used them twice. I would have used them had I bought a house about 6 weeks later than I did. Shannon is legitimately the best guy you can work with in that industry. 844 FSU loan. Give him a call. You won't find better people to work with.
All right. Other things that we need to be talking about here.
Real quickly, if I can improvise.
Yeah.
I don't like talking down to people or telling them what they should think or whatever else. I'd be hesitant about going around talking about the fact that Florida State should be 6-0 right now. If Florida State gets up 28-7 on a team and beats them, and their fan base tells me about how they're lucky they should have won that game or whatever, I'm going to laugh at them. And I realized the way the weight game played out, I think you probably are wearing a little bit of a garnet and gold set of glasses if you're talking about the fact that you should be 6-0.
There are people that think FSU should have won the weight game.
That is a point of conversation. Yes.
Ooh, okay. This is why eventually DraftKings will want to be our sponsor. Right.
I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
4-2 is an appropriate record for you right now, for sure. Okay. You did not outplay Louisville by a significant margin. That was a close game. You won it. You won a close game against LSU. Now you made it close by some real dumbassery at the end of the game. I thought you controlled it for about the first 48 minutes or so. 4-2 is a very appropriate record at this point.
Yep, it is. And if you want to say you should be 5-1, I'll sit there and agree with you. And
sure.
And that's a little bit of a homer, but we can be homers sometimes. You should have won Saturday night. Sucks you didn't. Nothing else to say.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm total agreement there. Would you play Armella?
Yeah, I think I would, man. I have changed on this a little bit over the course of the year. Again, if you're getting abused, and I admire Jazz, think the kid's working hard, trying everything he can. But if you're getting abused, I'd rather get abused by a kid that can learn from it and is going to contribute in 2 years and be a massive piece out of what you build around. And it's going to be embarrassing a couple times. I mean, not that you're not getting that with some of your other offensive line selections. I'm just saying, look, you throw out a true freshman out there, he's going to make mental mistakes. He's going to get physically embarrassed a couple times. That's fine. I'm fine learning on the job at this point. I don't do it this weekend, but if you want to tell me that you're rolling with Armella after the bye week moving forward, I have no problem at all.
I might play him some this weekend. Just I don't know. It depends on what you think your shot is to win. I think they have a shot to win the game if Clemson makes a lot of mistakes and doesn't get certain guys back. A shot. Now, I'm not predicting it. I'll spoiler. I'm not picking FSU in this game.
I don't ask that kid's introduction to college football be blocking number 3 and Brian Brzee or whatever.
Did you see Xavier Thomas is back, by the way?
Xavier Thomas is number 3 for those that aren't numerically familiar with Clemson's roster. Like I'm a moron and just throwing that out casually, but yeah.
He played 6 snaps and had 2 sacks and 4 pressures.
Yeah. Just working his way back in. So look, Xavier Thomas, it's always an issue of motor and focus with him.
And
that
health,
is as talent, and health helps as well. But super talented kid.
Should we share what our prize picks were over the weekend? Because this was
had a good one. Mitchell just mentioned it there in the chat. Prize picks. Oh boy, I have loved this. This has been fun, man. I mean, my girlfriend on Friday nights basically just tells me see you later because she knows I'm going to stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning watching.
Fiance.
Fiance.
If she's watching this, you should call her fiance. I made that mistake a couple times.
It was fun. I mean, I had a nice weekend. I'm not going to bore y'all, but look, if you looked at the tweet that we put out on Friday, I think 9 out of 10 hit, or 8 out of 9 because there was one duplicate on both cards. So 8 out of 9 hit. Look, y'all, I would make small dollar tickets and high number of tickets, and if you can, there's always a little bit of a promo out there or a free pick or something like that. Use it wisely. Coupon code NOLCAST. We've had some success with this, and I think you can have some success too, and you'll have a hell of a lot of fun. It makes me appreciate the broader world of college football a lot more, and I know a lot more about some Mountain West teams than I ever would have otherwise. So,
did you stay up to watch the San Jose State game?
Yeah, absolutely. I had two kids on that one, and I was hoping for just a miracle to find that Crooks wide receiver a few more fantasy points. But on the whole, it was a great weekend for me. I legitimately, guys, I played 11 tickets and I won 11. Now, I only hit the bonus multiplier twice. 2 of them were the win 3 out of 5, and you get 60 or 40% of your thing back or whatever. So if you want to call that, it's a loss. That's a loss, whatever. But it was a great weekend. So fun times.
This weekend is insane, by the way, for games. Like, obviously, if you're a Noel fan, you're watching Clemson, Florida State, but the other games are really pretty nice too. This is definitely a DVR weekend. If you like, what was that original DVR called? Not Fandango. TiVo, I think it was. For man, we're old heads now, I guess. With got some Grey Conan.
TiVo was the original kind of technology. Yeah, absolutely.
This would be a weekend that you would like. That TiVo would make all their money on. Like, man, how am I going to watch all these games? I want to go back and watch one. I only have. There's so much good stuff going on this weekend. Can you imagine if FSU pulls this off? It would be.
It'll make last Saturday night feel like a transitory, or, a fleeting moment of disappointment. So yeah, no, it would be incredible. And we can talk more about it. But yeah, even if you don't go, we realize that 4-3 had a decent amount of likelihood to it, and doesn't mean you can't recover. And to say that you're going to win your next 5 games is probably hoping on one too many favorable coin flips, but you can come out and win 4 out of 5 and have a decent degree of momentum, and pair that back end momentum with a 4-0 start, put a decent class together, and let's go. Let's see where we're going with this thing.
100%. I think elsewhere in the conference, do we want to do a little notes about percent of our friends at Congruity?
Yeah, we can bounce around a little bit. Matt Lewis has been great for our business, been great for my business. Spend 10 minutes with him, 5 minutes about talking about the Noles. I can assure you, Matt loves Florida State football, and and emotionally feels it just as much as we do when it doesn't go right. But no, give him a call. Great guy. Recently, actually promoted to president of Congruity, so he's doing a fantastic job, and he's been a great person to work with. So if you want, I'm fond of saying this, if you want a third-party introduction, I'm happy to do so. You can reach out to me on Twitter or the Nolecast email account. But Matt Lewis, whether it be payroll, HR, anything else that can help your business, just as we'll try to help you by giving you an idea as to what's out there on the ACC slate, Matt Lewis can help you and your business. Let's go to Georgia Tech real quickly, bud. I still think this is a game that Florida State can and will win, but Georgia Tech is now picked up 2 wins in a row, sits at 3-3, and had a nice little performance against Duke on Saturday. So something to monitor.
I agree. It's a little bit tougher out than I thought it was going to be. I guess you can never know how a team is going to play when they fire their coach. They seem to be playing hard, and Jeff Sims is playing okay. Duke is a okay team this year. Athletically, they're still a little bit limited, but they're okay. I would still favor FSU, decently in this ballgame. Just what I've seen so far. Georgia Tech did beat Pitt over the week or 2 weekends ago, but that was a very much like a crazy turnover fueled game in an absolute downpour. And I'm just a little, I don't know. We've all seen those those rain games before, and weird things does seem to happen in those. People want to talk about conference rumors going around. I mean, I don't think we can say anything more than we said. What show was that we?
It's about 6 weeks ago. It's a good question. I don't know. It was after August 15th. We specifically waited until
Yeah,
so it's right around September 1st. We waited until August 15th because whenever you talk about conference realignment, people's immediate extrapolation is, oh, it's happening next Tuesday or whatever. That's not the conversation that we had. But yeah, if you want to go back and give that a listen, I think our sentiment remains where we are there.
yeah. Wasn't the bye week special, right?
It was, yeah, it might have been
It was
after
before
the.
LSU, right?
Yeah, I think so because I didn't much feel like doing a game review on Duquesne. I think that's probably the episode if I remember correctly.
All right, so
It's the game after, or it's the podcast, one of the podcasts immediately after the Duquesne game. I could be wrong. One of our
LSU
listeners
was the
will tweet
weekend
it
of
to
the
us.
3rd, and it was after August 15th.
Yeah, it's right there, right at the end of August, 1st of September. So
Yeah, I mean, guys, my guess here is that anybody spreading conference rumors right now is catching stuff that we had like 7 weeks ago, most likely. Like I'm confident in what we had and what we spoke on 7 weeks ago, as far as like what would need to happen and what could happen. I don't have anything like new that I've heard today on this, but I'm not going to shoot anything down certainly because I don't have anything to shoot down. But if you haven't listened to the episode, strongly encourage you to do so. I think it's pretty instructive on this topic. Okay, a couple things here on FSU schedule going forward. We just talked about Georgia Tech. Miami, this is actually kind of important. So Arroyo, one of their tight ends rather, is going to miss a while. We know Restrepo is probably going to miss the FSU game, I would think. There's some chance he gets back. Jacoby George, their other receiver, should get back. However, and this is like, you hate to see injuries, but FSU's suffering a lot of them. So you do need to track what other teams have going on with injuries. And right now, man, Miami's got some other guys that are out. And I don't know how long they're going to be out, but Zion's not playing for them right now. They're left tackle. And they also had, let me see if I can find this here. Yeah, they got another offensive lineman out. Where are we at here? So Justice Oluluwasan is out. And then they also lost their center, Ja'Kai Clark. Now, I think Ja'Kai Clark's coming back. Justice might be out for a while. They played, who did they play? Logan Sagapolu from Oregon, and his PFF rating was like almost negative. So, I mean, look, they only scored, what did they score on North Carolina? 28, 27? Pretty bad.
when you look at what other teams have done to that defense, pretty pedestrian performance.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
North Carolina is terrible defensively. So Miami's defense, I think, is pretty good. Tyreek Stevenson should be back. But, I mean, there's some chance that Miami just is bad offensively. We'll see what they do this weekend against the Hokies. But, I mean, we've been kind of all over this, right? And this was pre-injury, and now it's only exacerbated. Syracuse, we'll see. Syracuse plays NC State this weekend without Leary. Leary's not necessarily needing surgery, but there's no timetable for him to come back. So if you're him, do you come back? Or do you just get healed up for a pro day? Throwing those receivers in that offense, I might just kind of, who knows? But Syracuse, to me, has been sort of backsliding a little bit after their really hot start. So I'm curious to watch how they play in this ball game. Louisiana had a bye week this weekend, so we'll see what they do. And Florida continues to look poor on offense, but they did have a pick six against Missouri. Missouri's quarterback is terrible. I had the under 54 in that game and had some under, I think, 55 and 56 from earlier this week. And if I lost that, I was going to throw things, which I usually don't get too upset about stuff. But I mean, both these offenses were not anything good. And just the number of turnovers and ridiculousness, special team stuff that set up short fields to score. Anyway, like FSU, if they get healthy, will have a chance to be pretty effective against Florida's offense if they get healthy. If they don't, then Florida's O-line is actually not that bad, and they could push you around.
Our man Cedric asked about any Clemson injuries. We'll go over this, in depth on Thursday. Their secondary is exceptionally banged up. We just talked about that. Legitimately has a chance of maybe seeing some third stringers out there. But we'll remind you, if you're going to the Clemson game or if you're in Tallahassee for any reason, Charlie Park is Tallahassee's best rooftop bar. People that we have been fortunate to partner with since 2015. That makes me feel old in and of itself. But Matt Thompson is as great of a guy as we could have, as great of a guy as understanding the experience of being a Florida State athletic supporter. And, whether it be Charlie Park Township or Madison Social, always thank those people for making podcasts like these possible. Being able to go for an hour on a Monday night is not something that we would be able to do without the sponsors that we have. And we thank you for the support that you've given them. Let's see, who else do we have on the schedule left? Anybody else that we didn't discuss as far as the remaining schedule?
Well, the bowl opponent, which currently is projected by CBS Sports to be Illinois in the Pinstripe Bowl in New York.
Oh, I might have to go to that game, bud. I may not make the game, but I will go to New York to cover it.
Messina, we are kidding. We are definitely going to cover the game. That is the purpose of our trip to New York. Yeah,
thank you. I don't need my Sicilian accountant texting me being like, if you ever put air quotes up again. No, but definitely.
Yeah, man. That would be fun. I mean, that's a team like Illinois is playing pretty well, but that would be an interesting game. Did you watch the ridiculous Iowa drive against Illinois this weekend?
I didn't, man. I was caught up. I had a lot of prize picks on the Iowa State game. I think that was, or no, that might have been after.
Yeah.
That was the Iowa 3:30 game.
No, Iowa Illinois was definitely a night game.
A night game. Okay, so was Iowa State, and that's where one of my three screens was dedicated. I needed Xavier, whatever their wide receiver, Xavier Hutchinson, to have a little bit more points. But
all right.
I can't watch it, man. I can't watch Iowa offense. I can tell enough just by following you on Twitter that I don't need to watch that damn Iowa offense. And the scores kind of tell you a decent amount as well, but it is too much. I almost use PTSD, which is inappropriate. It's just too similar to the Jeff Bowden situation for me to be able to watch and not just hate it. So I stay away from it intentionally.
All right, this actually involves 2 punts, 1 drive. All right, this is just fantastic. So I can find this here. I think it ends in a missed field goal. Where was this at? Sorry, this is really we're in minute number 62. It's 10:30 at night. If you guys are still hanging around, it's probably because you like us, not because the content and minute 62 is all that interesting. I will find this though. It is quite amazing. Is it quarter 2? Anyway,
yes, a lot of suggestions for your cover 3 partner, Tom Fornelli, should that matchup happen.
Oh yeah,
and we'll certainly get him on. Absolutely.
I can't find this right now, but basically it was like an 11 play, 17-yard drive that involved 2 punts and a fumbled punt and some other. I don't know how to describe this. It was pretty wild, and this is a total Jeff Bowden situation. You're right. I mean, they have. It's literally the head coach's son, and I just feel bad for all those Iowa players. He had 222 yards on 66 plays.
Yeah,
against Illinois. I'm having you know why I hate Iowa right now? Because I'm having to take and manually go through and decide how much to downgrade Illinois' defense. And basically everybody who has played Iowa, I need to go ahead and downgrade them because I'm like, this is actually like nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just use sort of unadjusted stats, it's telling you that Illinois is the number 3 defense in the country. And statistically, they are, but I don't really know that is do you really think there's only 2 defenses in the nation that are better than Illinois? I don't. Like, I mean, I love Brett Bielema was cool and all, but so yeah, Iowa. But it would be fun to play this Illinois team. They had Tommy DeVito. If you ever wondered, remember Syracuse quarterback Tommy DeVito?
Yeah.
Love that kid. His dad actually saved my gear one time from getting wet at the opening because a rainstorm rolled in and I was on the other side of the field. So shout out Mr. DeVito. I forgot his first name. He got hurt in this game. But if you ever wondered, like Syracuse, how would they look with DeVito if they had a real offensive line for him? Iowa blocks it up Illinois blocks it pretty well. And he looked okay. You know, he was 6 of 11 for 42 yards. Prior to that, he looked pretty good. So, you know. Oh, man. I'm kind of tapped out. Let me see. Who is this? Cedric in the chat. Just hit us nolecast@gmail.com and we'll get you that information there. I appreciate the relief efforts getting down to Fort Myers. That's awesome, man. So I don't know how you say this without sounding conceited. If you DM me about it, I get a lot of DMs, dude. I probably got like 200 or 300 from Oklahoma State fans who are pissed off at me. So it's probably just lost in there somewhere. You know,
oh, that's gotta be fun. That's
like you don't think Oklahoma State is a top 10 team? Like I said, they might be. I said I'm just not convinced that they're a no doubt top 10 team.
Speaking of Oklahoma, and we are freestyling here in minute 66. Is it Bill Connolly that had that piece today out about almost the inability to track exactly how bad Oklahoma is right now, and that Vegas can't keep up with it? It's an interesting read, very interesting read if that's the type of stuff that you like to dive a little deeper into in college football.
For sure. By the way, injuries I think are happening around the sport a lot right now to quarterbacks too. I don't know if you thought about this, but remember back in 2007, what a nuts year we had. Like LSU won the national title with 2 losses.
Yeah.
I mean, by far, like USF was the number 2 team in the country for like 2 weeks. If you think back though, West Virginia lost both games that Pat White got hurt in, USF and Pitt. USC had John David Booty as their starting quarterback, and the 2 games that he missed were the 2 games that they lost that year. You had Matt Flynn get hurt and get really dinged up in their 2 overtime losses for the eventual national champion LSU. And then you also had Dennis Dixon, the Oregon quarterback. This is the gross knee injury where it looks like his knee just looks like his leg, the top part of his leg falls off and he just like collapses, right? Against Arizona. So other teams are getting hurt too. Injuries are not that big of a deal unless they happen in certain cluster spots. And in this case, that's what you're dealing with Tallahassee. It might be what Miami's dealing with too right now. They got 3 guys out. So
it might be what Clemson's dealing with, and that's what we'll talk about on Thursday.
Secondary. Yeah.
Their secondary has had some spots. And if you're going to have success, it will be very much tied to that unit, I have a feeling. So
no doubt.
Doug,
awesome,
you want to wrap here?
60, I do.
68 minutes?
I'm a little tired. 68 minutes is pretty good. Appreciate everybody hanging out in the chat with us. And Bryce Young hurt as well. I think Bryce will play this weekend. That line is there's enough people invested to where they're going to grease some kind of trainer or student assistant, right? They'll know if Bryce practiced or not. And for that line to be sitting at 7.5 and not be hedged at like 3 or something, or if it was Bryce not playing, Tennessee would be like a 1-point favorite. They're sitting at 7.5 for a reason. Bryce is playing, in my opinion. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Like and subscribe. Make sure you tell your friends. See you Thursday.
Thursday it should be. Until then, thank you as always. Get a chance to give us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you consume this on. Always appreciated. Shout out to the Patreons for making this possible, and we'll talk to you on Thursday.